monthly checks for the low income, otherwise known as guaranteed basic income. I have all the details and what you need to know right here in the video, so let's get right into it. Alright, now in this video, I want to talk about guaranteed basic income, otherwise known as monthly checks, specifically focused on the low income. Sounds pretty good, right? Yeah, it sure does, which is exactly why I want to talk about it and why these programs are so incredibly popular and showing up all across the country. Let's get into it and discuss what you need to know. However, really fast before we do, thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here or if you haven't done so yet, please make sure to subscribe by hitting the button right down below the video, as it's totally free to do so, and because I am your one and only daily advocate, I'm here for you right by your side each and every day, watching all this new information hitting the wire, doing the research and breaking it all down into these short videos so you can stay updated with what's actually going on and, most importantly, what's showing up out there you can possibly grab and or take advantage of, like money, checks, programs, stimulus, or anything else like that. Of course, I want to bring it to your attention right away. So again, thanks so much for joining me. Please subscribe down below so you don't miss any videos going forward, as this is a very busy time. And also remember, I am here for you in any way that I can be. That's my dedication, that's my commitment, and as always, that is my promise to you and everybody right here in the community. Alright, thanks again. Let's get into it and talk about monthly checks, otherwise known as guaranteed basic income, what this means for the low income, and how do you grab your share? Good questions. Let's get into it and talk about what's going on. All right, so you probably heard me talk about this before, as I've mentioned guaranteed basic income and universal basic income, as well as monthly checks many times over the last few years. And realistically, these programs continue to get a lot of traction. They continue to get a lot of attention, and they're very popular, as we continue to see with all of these reports that come out time and time again, that any of these beneficiaries of these monthly check programs continue to find that their livelihoods are a lot better once they started getting checks. Really? I never would have guessed that. Would you? I mean, seriously, do we need to have all these reports that keep coming out showing us that the livelihoods of the low income are improved substantially when they start getting a monthly check? Well, yeah, of course. We all know this, right? Well, again, this is exactly the encouraging information that we continue to see showing up, because that's what they continue to find with all of these reports as these programs continue to pop up. But I've been talking about universal basic income also in some of the videos, and I've had a couple people wondering what is the detail and what is the difference between universal basic income, the guaranteed basic income, monthly checks. What are all of these different things? Are they the same? Are they different? What are the details? And what is the highest likelihood of actually happening here in the United States? Which again, I'll shake that all out here for just a second, because one of these has a very high likelihood. Meanwhile, the others, we'll see about that. But again, I want to break this all down because these are specifically focused on low-income individuals. And again, we know that as of right now, there's about 37.9 million people in the United States living below the federal poverty line. Yeah, that's a lot of people, right? It's about 13% or so of our population. It's a lot of people in this country right now that are living at or below the federal poverty line. All right, so here's a quick difference between universal basic income and guaranteed basic income. In general, universal basic income, otherwise called UBI, is an ongoing monthly check that'd be sent out to everybody, regardless of income. It could be somebody earning $10,000 a year, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000, $400,000 a year, doesn't matter. Universal basic income just literally sends out a check to everybody every single month. Not necessarily a good approach. Doesn't really help the cause. It doesn't really fix the problem. So universal basic income, it's a cool concept, but realistically not practical at all, okay? However, guaranteed basic income, that's a totally different topic here. It's very similar. However, the checks are focused on the low income. So here's what it is. Guaranteed basic income is literally the same thing as universal basic income, but rather than a check going out to everybody, it's a check that's highly focused on low-income individuals or specific groups in a certain area, right? So as of right now, we have multiple different guaranteed basic income programs that are going on all around the country. In fact, as of right now, there's about 100 guaranteed basic income programs going on all around the country. The vast majority of the beneficiaries of these programs are getting $500 per month per beneficiary, or per household in some instances. Not bad. What would an extra $500 do for you and your lifestyle and your livelihood right now? Again, no brainer. We all know the question, or we all know the answer to that question, right? It's pretty obvious. It would be really, really good for a lot of people, right? All right, so those are the key differences. However, when it comes down to it, guaranteed basic income is really kind of the cream of the crop. This is a really good type of situation, and this is why we continue to see these programs popping up and why some lawmakers are also pushing for a guaranteed basic income program on a national level. Now, why would it be a guaranteed basic income program versus a versus a universal basic income program on a national level? Here's why it would be the difference. Because they have income thresholds. Now, let me point out a quick program here that was very similar to this. A couple different programs, in fact, that we've experienced here over the last few years that have been very, very similar to this. Number one, and this went out to a lot of people, which was the stimulus checks. Now, again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but let me use this as a quick example. Now, obviously, this was just a one-time payment, but it kind of set the groundwork for exactly this type of program. A guaranteed basic income program would be very, very similar. Remember, the stimulus checks that were sent out always had an income threshold. The first couple stimulus checks that were sent out had an income threshold of $100,000 as an individual and $200,000 as a married couple. Again, the income thresholds were right there. Now, obviously, these were just one-time checks that were sent out. The last stimulus check that we received had an income threshold of $75,000 as an individual or $150,000 as a married couple. Again, a quick example showing just what guaranteed basic income programs do as well. They have an income threshold. If you're over the limit, sorry, you get nothing. But if you're within the limit, then you get the money, right? So that's an example of that. Now, if they would have continued that on a monthly basis, then that would have been considered a guaranteed basic income program. Let me show you another example, and this one is actually a really good example of a guaranteed basic income program. The child tax credit payments, the advanced payments that were going out in the second half of 2021. Now, again, I know that this did not reach everybody, but again, this illustrates the exact purposes and the exact examples that I want to give you of a guaranteed basic income program, which is exactly that, which is in that time, this second half of 2021, about 38 million households were getting checks that were averaging $422 every single month. Okay, well, who was getting the checks? The households that had those income thresholds, $75,000 as an individual or $150,000 as a married couple, and the stipulation was they had to have dependent kids under the age of 18, right? So again, some exact examples of a guaranteed basic income program. Those checks continued to go out for 6 months. So that was a perfect example of a guaranteed basic income program. Now, here in the United States, there are some lawmakers that want to implement a guaranteed basic income program on a nationwide level. In other words, virtually everybody across the entire country gets a check within the certain income thresholds. And according to what they're talking about, it would not be necessary to somebody with kids, but rather just literally everybody who is within the income thresholds. Now, I'm going to be real with you. It is not passed as of right now, but they have talked about it, and there are a number of different lawmakers in Congress right now that want this to be done. So, again, part of the agreement that they had there is that they wanted to set up these pilot programs all across the country, and guess what they're doing? They're already setting up pilot programs all across the country. In fact, there's about 100 of them right now, guaranteed basic income programs, setting out those ongoing monthly checks to, well, a lot of people all across the country right now. So these are some of the differences, and as we continue to see, and like I've talked about so many times in previous videos, all the reports that continue to come out showing that these guaranteed basic income programs are really, really good because they help out a lot of people, and it gets money into the pockets of the people that need it immediately, and it's a no strings attached to payment. Again, another really cool feature about these programs, which is you can spend the money on anything. You can save it, you can spend it, you can do whatever you want with it. It doesn't matter. No strings attached. In other words, they're not going to sit there and micromanage you as far as what you do with the money, right? So that is one of the really cool things about guaranteed basic income programs, just like the child tax credit payments that went out in the second half of 2021, like I just talked about, as well as the stimulus checks. They didn't sit here and tell us what to do with it. They advised us. They gave us recommendations, as in spend it. They did not want us to save it. But at the end of the day, they did not sit here and say, here's a voucher, you can only spend it at this store. That's not how it worked, right? It was just a cash payment, do what you got to do with it. So that was the really cool thing about it. So when it comes down to it, universal basic income, really cool concept, but not practical. Guaranteed basic income, cool concept and very practical, especially for the people that actually need those checks, and something that we will likely see here in the United States at some point, probably sooner than later. I know I've talked about this a number of times before, but realistically, this is where things are going. If you don't believe me, look at all the automation that is going on right now with all of the different things with AI, artificial intelligence, robots taking over a lot of jobs out there. We've heard this from a lot of different people out there, big people, CEOs, large, highly influential people that have come out many times here over the last couple of years saying it is inevitable in this country there will be some type of ongoing monthly checks, universal basic income, guaranteed basic income, something like this because of automation and because of all of these robots taking over jobs for millions and millions of people. There will need to be something to put in place to make sure that people are still financially stable. So anyways, want to come back and talk about ongoing monthly checks specifically focused on the low income, guaranteed basic income programs and exactly what all of these means for the millions of beneficiaries that would be able to take advantage of these programs. Now, obviously, as I get more information on any of these programs popping up all across the country right now, of course, I will bring them to your attention right away so you can possibly grab any of them. But there are some pretty big ones going on out there, including the one in Chicago. There's about 5,000 people that are getting $500 checks right now. There's a couple in Los Angeles. They're all over the country right now, but those are just some of the biggest ones. Anyway, of course, as I get more details, I'll of course be here for you, breaking it all down, letting you know what's going on, and of course, giving you those details so you can take advantage of any of these programs that are out there. So again, please make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, so you don't miss any videos going forward. Also, go back and check out any of the other thousands of videos here on the channel. And of course, share this video or any others here on the channel with your friends, family, and social media. And until next time, enjoy your day. I hope this one helps you. And just remember, I'm always here for you as much as I possibly can be, as that is my dedication and my promise to you and everybody right here in the community. All right, thanks again. Enjoy, and I'll catch you again later in the next video.